Smart 24, driving business.
Minutes to the top of the hour, and definitely heading into the last minutes of the show. I'm Andrew Barije with Masi Katsume. This morning we're driving your business with the latest, both international and local business related news, very key and very influential when it comes to decision making and implementation. That is at the same time, of course, still discussions into the budget as we are going to be proceeding. But before that, don't forget the markets on the Zabu platform, which have already opened. Start tonight, 2 hash is the code for you there, and you'll be available with a number of options to be in position to buy government bonds and securities for as little as 15,000 Ugandan shillings. Yes, the markets open at 8:15 a.m. and they will be closing at 3:15 p.m. West African time, and this is effective Monday up to Friday, except from the weekends and the public holidays when you can't be able to access these markets. But of course, despite that, you have the rest of the days to capitalize and make yourself quite some huge profits and some huge income for you there. And well, life will be made much more easy. There is no excuse for why you shouldn't own bonds and securities in such a time, in such an era of Zabu. Now, Zabu simply says, my money, my future. And All Tech East Africa tells you, do something new for yourself in the year 2023. And life will definitely be quite very interesting. Of course, still on the budget. Now, let's cross over and take a look at the different exports that were put out, that Uganda exported to the different countries, and how much each was able to earn the country. Let's have a look at that, of course, as we proceed further. Of course, these were ranging from, like you can see, the manufactured exports, exports which were exported for the which worth $163 million was exported. And cement worth 87 million US dollars was also exported, and plastic worth 61 million US dollars were still also exported, as you can take a look. And beer, yes, worth 29 million US dollars. Soap 31, and all that. I mean, that is the trend of the exports which we had in the year 2022, of course, which implies the financial year 2022 and 2023. Well, on that note, now let's get into other discussions in relations to what people have to say about the current state of the budget. Of course, this is Honorable Atkins. Yes, Atkins Godfrey Katushabe is the Member of Parliament of Bukonzo West constituency, that is in Kasese. And of course, he's talking about corruption authorities, that he says that they should make sure they do fight corruption among people. Of course, that these money, of course, can do what it's intended to do when it comes to what the budget has really allocated in there. Of course, corruption challenges that we're going to experience when it comes to implementation of the different government programs. But anyway, let us see the advice that Honorable has, Atkins Godfrey Katushabe, in regards to that.
And should really believe in this particular budget. This is a budget that is for our people, citizens. My dimension is to look at Emyoga and PDM models. Those are models that specifically look at the rural poor and the urban poor, trying to bring everybody on board. And if we are focusing on facilitating and scaling up the 39 that are outside of the cash economy, this budget is for those that are being outside of the bracket. And what that means is that the rural poor and the urban poor are going to come on board. And when they come on board, we've been just talking about broadening and scaling up the tax base. They'll come on board. They'll be part of the taxation clusters that we have in the country. I want to believe that this budget is going to be corruption unfriendly. And I want to send a message to the thugs and bandits and robbers that are hell-bent on bleeding this country to death because of their corruption appetite, stealing appetite, robbery and thuggery. The president, parliament, and all the institutions of government that are charged with the duty, responsibility, and obligation to check on corruption. It's time to put your foot down. It's time to roll up your sleeves. It's time to tighten your belts and step out of the board and send a clear signals to the thieves that have been bleeding this country to death. 23 trillion lost to corruption annually or every year, with 1 trillion lost through procurement fraud alone. This is way too much. We can't continue like this. This budget should be business unusual for the thieves that have been bleeding our country to death. So I want to see that just right factored in. I'm happy that the president and also the Minister for Finance are focusing on industrialization. And I'm happy for the support that government is injecting into UDB. And I'm also happy with the model that the UDB leadership and management have adopted to ensure that this works for industrialization. We can only grow our economy by supporting citizens and also making or creating an enabling environment for our development partners, especially those that come to support and reinforce the efforts of government, but also those that come into the country to facilitate the investment scale to some level. So I want to believe that this is a budget that's going to work for everybody and is big enough to accommodate all of the citizens and those that are here to facilitate and reinforce the efforts of government.
Well, that's Honorable Atkins Godfrey Karshabi. That is a Member of Parliament, Bukonzo West constituency, that's in Kasese, giving us his, he has focused on corruption. One of the key aspects in there, 23 trillion, the country loses a result of corruption, and also pointed out the 1 trillion when it comes to procurement fraud. So that means what you actually procure is not what exactly you put on paper. I mean, you put on paper something different and you propose something different. That is procurement fraud, and that is something which has been key when it comes to milking the country's money. Yes, of course, corruption, if not dealt with the ultimate aspect, the program-based budget will also be in vain. And it wouldn't look so nice because this is what probably Ugandans have been anticipating, that maybe this is budget that's going to be responding to us as the citizens of the country. And now it happens in this way that it doesn't really meet its intended objectives. What image is that going to be pointing it out right there?
Well, the year is going to begin in July. So before they read the budget, you got to know the news of the OPM saga with the Karamoja funds. Even before they read out the budget, so we realized. I think it's just corruption that is affecting us, even with the implementation level. It's still corruption right there. Now imagine the 1.1 trillion. Exactly. That is going to be allocated for the PDM. You will find, if not monitored well, we shall have only billions dispersed.
Dispersed. Absolutely true. Everything is possible in here. Now let's wind this up as we take a look at, of course, as we do the overall budget, as we summarize it up. Of course, as we have the different figures displayed on your screen there. Of course, we are talking about budget 2023-2024, breakdown of key highlights. Of course, we have the topic and the details. Now, of course, the budget, of course, is 52.74 trillion Ugandan shillings. That is equivalent to 13.9 billion. Of course, with exchange rates keep on differing from that perspective. Now, of course, we see increase from the previous year. That is, there is an increase of 4.6 trillion. That is equivalent to $1.2 billion as compared to the previous budget, which was about 48 trillion. Yeah, 48 trillion. Yeah, that was the previous budget. Now, debt to GDP ratio for the financial year 2023-2024. We see it comes in down to 53.1%. And of course, debt to GDP ratio for financial year 2023, of course, there is some sort of a reduction in there to just 52.4%. And now we have the increase in the public debt, 760 million US dollars, 2.8 trillion shillings. Of course, our debt is always increasing, and something which the financial, the coming budget is looking forward to address. Now, of course, when you take a look at the external debt, that is talking about those external agencies, foreign banks, of course, coming in down to 47.7 trillion Ugandan shillings, and the domestic debt, that is the money borrowed from within institutions, most especially these are financial institutions, banks, where the government actually borrows money to run the different economic activities. Now, of course, interest payments for financial year 2023-2024, yes, coming in down to 6 trillion. Then revenue from exports in the first half of financial year 2023-2024 amounted to 2.2 billion, and the increase in imports, of course, first half for the financial year 2022-2023, coming in down to about 15 trillion. Yes, 15 trillion Ugandan shillings. And of course, current account deficit, we see coming in from that is about 15 trillion Ugandan shillings. Now the overall balance of payment deficit coming in down to 2.5 trillion Ugandan shillings. Of course, we've always had deficits in terms of as a country Uganda, we spend more than what we bring in. Now, of course, we see a drop in international reserves. That is by 2.9 trillion shillings. A drop is not good, actually. And now, of course, the deficit in cumulative revenue, of course, cumulative revenue collected, it's 94.8 billion shillings. 94.8 billion shillings. And of course, taking a look at the international trade tax deficit for financial year 2022-2023, coming in down to 114 billion Ugandan shillings, of course, which is equivalent to 30.3 million. Tax revenue as percentage of GDP, of course, 12.9%, and the surplus in tourism, hotel industries, of 1.5 million dollars, and surplus in real estate equivalent to 1.36 billion shillings. Yes, and external financing proposed for the national budget being about 8.26 trillion Ugandan shillings. Grants and loans proposed for national budget 2.78 trillion Ugandan shillings. That is equivalent to 734.8 million US dollars. Yes, that is it in brief regarding to the overall summary of the budget financial year 2023-2024. But of course, on Smart 24 TV and on Smart Mates Business, we shall keep giving you the real, of course, the different post-budget analysis in relation to the different sectors and the different programs as allocated for the financial year 2023-2024. Just a few minutes to the top of the hour, and we are also coming to the end of Smart Mates Business this Monday morning. Of course, a great thanks from all the way where we started with the 6:30 with our news breakup. You know, just in case you didn't catch up the Friday's news bulletin, you can get further updates so that you start your week knowing what transpired towards the end of the previous week. Yeah, something which is very key and vital also as an entrepreneur. By the way, one thing you need to know as a business person, information is very key and very powerful. Regardless, don't despise information, regardless of how old it could be, it is still impactful when it's used from the right perspective. Maybe Mercy, before we sign out, what is your word for the week for the entrepreneur, for that person that is doing business and they have set priorities for this week? What is that word that you have for them?
Well, of course, we are always happy for you to join in and, of course, join us as we talk about business. Of course, we are in an economy where we have to be business-minded, business-oriented as an entrepreneur out there that is, hoping for the best. I always tell people capital is never an issue.
Capital is never an issue.
People have this excuse of capital. I don't have capital. No, you can start up a thing at 100,000.
Sure, even 50,000.
Get a loan of 100,000. Start up something. Plan for that thing that you're planning to start. If you're already in business, I always plan ahead. Like we had a story of Joseph, and of course the Egyptians always plan prior. If you get a vision, probably a plan for it. Of course,
everyone is going to get a vision.
No, but you realize everyone has a vision. You may not have these night visions of you sleeping.
Some visions are thought through, but there's a vision that finds you on your bed and something comes to you. That's what we're talking about.
And always, I must say,
all right. Love
people telling you. Inquire from people.
Get advice.
Get advice. Be out there. Let people talk to you. Let people advise you. Don't sit on something. Okay, if you have something, share it with a friend.
Perfect.
Maybe that idea or yours combined together, you may come up and make something big. So definitely, if you're out there, please think about it. Don't sit on your idea. Invest in things that are going to get you benefits. Invest in agriculture. It's not a dirty job. It's just a dirty job anyway. You could have employees, okay, and you just go in and supervise. At the end of the day, make sure you add value for those that add value for your produce, for your crops, okay, so that we can go and market and also sell and be proud of what we are selling.
Perfect.
Okay?
Very perfect admission in there from Mercy Katsume. It's the first day of the week, and of course we also coming to the end of the month, literally just a few days left probably. And it's a Monday. Like I always say, be productive and set your priorities right. It's been of course a great weekend which we've been in, but despite the fun and all that, it's very important to also understand that there is a week ahead. Remember, actually, the fun you're having, you're working for it. You're having a business that is paying you money for you to have the fun you're having. So don't just have the fun at the expense of the person that is giving you the stability to have that fun. That is your business. You have to keep that into great perspective. Well, channel 372 on DSTV and channel 320 on GOTV. You can also get us on free to air and also download our smart digital application. You'll be able to stream us at any part of the country you will be at, any part of the world you will be. Yeah, just in case you can't stream us live on YouTube. Now, YouTube is at Smart24 TV Live. You'll be able to stream us there and on our social media handles at Smart24 TV. That's on Twitter, Smart24 TV Official. That's on Facebook. You can also catch me up on my personal handle at Andrew Barija 94. Of course, we have further discussions. And Mercy, what's your Twitter handle? Like how?
Of course, my Twitter handle is mkaslin, MKACI.
Exactly.
LYN. So you can catch us on Twitter or Instagram.
That's
still the
kind
same.
Of complex. You need to.
I know you have to. It's a name,
right,
for a particular set of people,
okay,
but it's still my name. So definitely, you can catch me on mkaslin on Twitter, Facebook still, and of course on Instagram.
Okay, you can get her towards those related handles. Well, why don't we say good morning right now as we tell you we shall be meeting again tomorrow. Good morning.